What's going on, guys? So today we're going to be talking about, is the Canon 5D Mark IV still worth it in 2020? You know, this camera's been out for a couple years, and should you just skip it, or is it still a valuable option? Just a couple of the specs include 7 frames per second, 30 megapixel sensor, dual pixel autofocus. You know, it's built like a tank. I've personally been using this camera forever, since, you know, a couple years now. I've also had the 5D Mark III and 5D Mark II. So since the, 1DX Mark III is out, the 1DX Mark II has price dropped heavily, the Canon R, and they just announced the Canon R5. So why get the 5D Mark IV? And in my opinion, as of right now, it's still one of the better Canon cameras. And if you don't like the EVF, or like you're shooting with strobes, or you're trying to shoot a lot of sports, and maybe you just can't afford the 1DX Mark III because that's like a house payment, the size of the 1DX Mark II is just too much for you, the 5D Mark IV is the perfect option for you, in my opinion. And I honestly still think this is an amazing camera. As y'all know, I just switched to the Canon R, but the 5D Mark IV is going for such a cheap price right now. You could pick one up on the low, and I think it's an amazing deal. I love the mode selector on the 5D Mark IV. It's like a little knob that you can twist, and like you just have to press the top and twist it at the same time. For me, it's really simple. Unlike the Canon R, you have to like press down the mode selector, then you have to crank it over. If you want to go to video, you have to press info, and then hopefully you have your correct setting. For me, as a run and gun shooter, I honestly really love the 5D Mark IV for video. I honestly just wish it had eye detect AF, and I probably would have stuck with it, but that's nonetheless, I honestly love the mode selector on the 5D Mark IV. The Canon 5D Mark IV has been out for almost 4 years, and that's a crazy amount of time for like a camera body. Honestly, in my opinion, don't let gear dictate, your photos or videos. Like, yes, some cameras, the newer cameras have different features and like they're more perks, but at the end of the day, the Canon 5D Mark IV is still an amazing photo and video option, and it is full frame. So in my opinion, just don't get caught up over gear like, oh, I can't shoot this unless I have a 1DX Mark III, and I can't shoot video unless I'm shooting on the C500 or Arri Alexa or like a Red, whatever camera they're on now with Red. In my opinion, I would not buy the 5D Mark IV brand new unless you got like a crazy discount on it. I would definitely buy it used. I think that's where you're gonna get the most bang for your buck and make it as worth it as possible, because if you buy it brand new, then you gotta buy a lens if you don't already have lenses. But if you do have lenses, or if you do buy it used, you can pick up another lens and make it that much more worth it with the amount of money that you're gonna save. In my personal opinion, if you are gonna be shooting a lot of people and portraits, or you just don't want a super heavy camera, I would honestly suggest you skip the 5D Mark IV, get the Canon R or RP, which are smaller, compact form factors, and you could just honestly use the IAF. It makes your life 10 times easier. Me personally, I really didn't like the EVF at first, but as time went on, it started to grow on me. I started using the viewfinder on the back, and now I'm here. But if you are shooting a lot of inside stuff, get the 5D Mark IV hands down. The cropped 4K on the 5D Mark IV is, a huge downfall in my opinion. Personally, for me, I don't mind it because the 1080 is at such a high bitrate. I just upscale it anyways. But if you want that true 4K, which is a massive bitrate anyways, in my opinion, just use the crop. It's not that big of a deal. But for what I do, I like to use the 4K if I want to reach something super far into the distance. Then I shoot 4K and then punch in. Or if you want to stabilize footage, you can do that. Or what I love to do is I just love to shoot the 4K if I need something that's really rich in detail, and then I can downscale that to 1080, or I could just leave it at 4K and nobody can tell the difference. That's just a little tip from me. So it's kind of seemed like Canon skipped full frame 4K on most of their cameras, and they just went straight to like 5.9K and rumored to be 8K on the Canon R5, which is gonna be absolutely nuts in my opinion. So the 5D Mark IV, as y'all know, like, you know what you're gonna get. The 5D series of camera from Canon has been around forever, and it is, honestly, it's built like a tank. It's a workhorse. It will get the job done. You know, unlike some other cameras that like freeze up if it's too hot, you know, freeze up if it's too cold, battery issues, camera card issues. Like, this camera is one of the only cameras from Canon that are like recent that has the dual card slots. Like, if you're shooting a wedding, you can't go back and recreate those images, so the dual card slots is key. Honestly, like, how are you gonna, if you lose your images, how are you gonna go back and tell a client, it's like, all right, well, I'm sorry that the card crashed, I can't give you any photos, we have to go back and recreate them all. Like, you can't go back and recreate someone's wedding. If you're shooting memories that you need to capture, like, there's no way that you can go back and do it. The Canon 5D Mark IV is the perfect camera, and honestly, for wedding photographers, this is perfect. That's it for this quick little video. You know, I've been doing these videos for the last couple years, you know, and yeah, that's all I have to say. If you did like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help. And if you have any other video ideas, leave it in the comments down below. And until the next video, peace.